25, 40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They block the kick!
This is the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, he's your Browns insider, Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, missed you on our show last week, man.
Hey, missed you guys. Came out really well. That was a really good job. I missed you guys. A lot going on, but I'm glad to be here tonight.
Good. You were sharing before show how your middle school team has some playoff success, so good job by you, man. Congrats on that.
That was awesome.
And also joining us all season long, she is your and our favorite Emmy-nominated digital content producer at News Channel 5, Camryn Justice. Camryn, another week, another Browns roller coaster ride on Twitter.
It's just up, it's down, it's all over the place. But we're used to it, aren't we? This shouldn't be very new.
Yeah. Well, here to save the day, let's get things started. So this episode, we're going to do a week 6 recap of the Steelers and a week 7 preview of the Bengals. And so to help us recap the game, ladies and gentlemen, 5 hot minutes with Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, go.
So you know what's funny is I'm not going to do what you all think I'm going to do, which is just freak out. No, I'm just kidding. Little Jerry Maguire thing there. It was kind of what I expected. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it on the previous show. I was just a little worried about the mounting injuries, kind of the garbage that had been piling up over the week. So I was a little worried it was going to all come to a head Sunday. It did. It really reminded me of the opening game against the Ravens. Same kind of thing. Like got, the pick 6 early, got us out of whack, couldn't get back to the game plan. A lot of guys banged up. So I'm not going to freak out about it. Look, the schedule is still favorable the next 5 weeks. We need to come out this week and take care of business. A couple things creep up that are scary. Yeah. But we also, like we talked about, had massive injury issues at safety, injury issues at running back. It was just one of those games. I think we just sweep it under the rug and we move on to the Bengals and we see what can happen. Now, the things we have to worry about, Baker in the pocket. We've talked about it so much. Does Baker have problems seeing in the pocket? I don't know. I think he might. If you look at that pick, he never, ever saw Mika Fitzpatrick sneaking up on it. Is that because he can't see, or is it just a nice job playing the robber role by Mika Fitzpatrick? I don't know. That's something we got to look at. Is Kareem Hunt still a feature running back in the league? I think he is. He's banged up. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, see how he looks this week. Is the offensive line as good without Wyatt Teller? Is Chris Hubbard good, or was it just like some of the lines we played, Cowboys and them guys, that bad? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens this week. There's just a lot of things I think that we can brush off about that game and move on, but it still does bother you a little bit that we're almost like the kid brother to the Ravens and the Steelers. To go out, and I think Odell talked about this, Baker talked about this, to be, I think, what's the combined score, 76-13 or whatever it is, versus the Steelers. That's a bit worrisome, but we are a team growing. We are, like we've talked about it many a times, we are a team that didn't, with a new coach, a new system. We didn't have the benefit of a true offseason. We didn't have the preseason game, so we're still growing together and learning. Those are teams that have been together for years, have systems. Mike Tomlin's been coaching the Steelers forever. They've had 3 coaches the last 60 years. We all know the story. But I do have a bone to pick with you, Chase. We have argued numerous times in the past about whether Ben Roethlisberger is a franchise top 10 quarterback in this league. Chase, my friend, Ben Roethlisberger, when healthy, is a top 7 quarterback in this league and an MVP candidate year in and year out. What say you, my friend?
I say he had a good game, but I also say this. He has a lot of weapons.
How many times have we argued about this?
So you say you're not going to freak out, Jay. In that little rant, you question a franchise quarterback. You were unsure whether our second best running back on like the top 7 running back it could carry the full load, and then you question the strength of our team, our O-line. So I hear you, man. Like I just want you to hear, like, you're not freaking out, but you're freaking out.
No. I think though that, Chase, what I'm trying to say in that rant is I think a lot of those things we can just say it was kind of a bad week, injury issues, everything. It's one of those snowball games, just like that Ravens game. When something bad happens early, it throws us like the Mike Tyson thing we've talked about in the past. When you get everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, the Browns got punched in the mouth twice this year, and both times they kind of curled up in a ball, which is worrisome. But it also could be, hey, they mounted, We lost. The problem's mounted. We lost. Let's regroup. Let's come back and play well this week. And guess what? If we come out, go down to Cincinnati, hit them in the mouth, and win that game, we're right back on track, and everything looks good with a favorable schedule.
Camryn, I don't feel like that's a case of the bad gamesies. I feel like you have a bad game against the teams like the Bengals or the Cowboys, but when that happens against a good team like the Ravens and Steelers, that's the gap, right? Do you think it was just a case of the bad gamesies, or do you really feel like this is who we are?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think obviously there is a gap. There is a gap between the Browns and the Steelers, and the gap between the Browns and the Ravens. But you're crazy if you don't think that that's to be expected. The Ravens have had consistent coaching. The Steelers have had consistent coaching. They know what they're doing. They're solidified. They are who they are. The Browns, we've figured out what the Browns' identity is. We have started to figure out what works for them. The run-heavy offense, led by Nick Chubb. Now he's out. Now you got to go with Kareem Hunt. And then you figure out ways to use Baker Mayfield that best suits him. And the Browns are slowly piecing that together, and they're getting there, and it will become more consistent. But this is a process. You have a brand new head coach. You have a brand new offense. You've got brand new coaches across the board. You've got new key players in different positions. This isn't something that I know that fans want it to be. And like when you get a glimmer of good, like great against teams like the and the Cowboys, you win against the Colts. That's good. You win against the Bengals. You have 4 wins, and that's awesome. But you do have to understand, like, this is a process. So when they play the good teams with a consistent record and a consistent coaching, and they know who they are and they have known who they are, it might not look pretty. You can't expect it to. And so I think that it's insane to throw the season away because we're not at that level yet. We are definitely not at the top of our division. That is not the case. The Browns are not at the top of the division. That's not a question. But can they be good? 100%. Can they make that? We have an extra wild card team this year. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. Yep. So I don't think that it's doom and gloom and panic. I think that this season, the goal is make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, you've had a successful season. Doesn't matter if you get bounced, you've had a successful season, you're in the right direction, and then you continue to grow with Kevin Stefanski leading you, with Kevin Stefanski making Baker Mayfield better, and then you get that consistency that the Ravens have had for years, that the Steelers have had for years, and that's how you become the leader in your division.
Camryn, you asked, can we be good? And I think the answer is yes. I think we are good. We're 4-2. There's a ton of franchises that would happily trade places with us in our rosters and our team. Jeremy, I know you said you weren't going to freak out, and I kind of played it up because you didn't sound like you were freaking out. You were just being real, dude. It was DEFCON 5 on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, man. on Twitter, man. It was rough.
Let me clarify a couple things. I think Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are like easily the best 1-2 punch in the league and incredible with each other. I think they play off each other. I think that it's a good change of pace, different styles, everything. But I just think the gap is noticeable between Kareem and Nick. I think Nick is like, there's only a couple guys like him in the league that come along every so often. I think Kareem is a really good running back. Okay. I just think the combination of them is almost unstoppable. I think when you take Nick out of the piece, it's good, but it's not great. And let me say this about Baker. We've talked about it a lot, about how great he is on the move, how good he is when he moves the pocket, but there's going to be times you can't do that. And it just feels like when they're just running, 7-step drops in the pocket, he doesn't look natural doing that. So I think that, it's going to be up to Stefanski and the boys, and I trust them implicitly, like we've talked about, to make sure that they move the pocket and get him on the move as much as they can, but you can't always do that. So Baker needs to figure out a way to be consistent from the pocket, at least for, a few snaps a game.
This week, Baker Mayfield said 4-2 has never felt like 0-6 as much as it does right now, or something like that. And that is so true. This was more than just one loss to us. Not only is it in our division, but it's to the Steelers, and it was a measuring stick. And we had success against them last year, even though Ben was hurt. And to come and just get smacked in the mouth for 4 straight quarters, out coached. There were plays. Can we talk about Kevin Stefanski's play calling? Finally, I've hinted at me being upset at it kind of a couple weeks. How many times on fourth and short, 4th and 1 is he just going to run the same play? Can someone help me with that? Like, why would he think that'd be successful after it failed the first 5 times? Why would he keep doing it? Like, I don't understand. We had an opportunity at the end of the second quarter to score and then get the ball, and the Steelers held us. It was just like, oh my gosh, dude, like, come on.
I do think he talked about it. I think that was his moment, that, that light bulb moment, like, oh, this isn't working. We'll see this week if that was actually the light bulb moment. But he said after the game, like, there's some plays and some decisions that I made that I'll never make again. I'll never call those plays again. So
don't do that. That's not good either. Like, because those are effective plays. But Camryn, Jeremy, the fake punt week 1 would have been great if it worked. It didn't work. The OBJ reverse was brilliant because it won us the game. But if it hadn't have failed, all of a sudden it's third. So I just feel like these plays that have worked or haven't worked, like, there's this pattern of just being careless with the play calls or trying to be too cute or too smart. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. Jeremy, did you like it at all? I mean, help me out, man.
I get you. I don't know. I need to see a little bigger sample size before I really get into, they obviously watch film. They know what works in certain situations. There's a lot of nuance to play calling, what your opponent likes to do. I think a big part of this, there was not a lot that was going to work in that game because we got dominated up front. I mean, The Steelers played harder. They knew what was coming. They game planned well. They dominated up front. I've been a play caller in games where you could dial up anything and nothing is working, So I'm not ready to question his play calling just yet, because like you said, we are 4-2. The offense came off its best string of games in 40 years just before this game. So I'm not ready to challenge his play calling yet. Let's see how it develops going forward. Let's see when we get Nick Chubb back in a few weeks and go from there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to question some of the play calls, no doubt.
I was one of those. I didn't tweet about the dark place or how low I sunk, but it's been a dark week over here in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, you should see some of these text threads I have with my friends. Like, I'm down on Baker. I'm down on a lot of the team. And not so much their heart or their ability to like play football. I'm just down. Like, I don't question OBJ's heart or talent or desire to win. Like, I was fine with, I listened to it on the radio, so it was hard for me to really understand what was going on. I had to fill in the blanks afterwards, but I just don't know. I was just in a dark place. Camryn, how did you have a dark week?
No, no. I also am very, like, I kind of stay positive. I'm not like, would it have been amazing to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh for the first time in years? Absolutely. Would it have been a solidifying moment for everybody outside of the Cleveland fan base and outside of, the local area that covers the Browns? Would it be that solidifying moment that the Browns have got it together? Yes. Do I think that they have it all together? Absolutely not. This is a learning thing. Like I said before, like, this is a process. Mm-hmm. So as much of it was disappointing, nobody wants to lose, especially nobody wants to lose to the Steelers. That's not the loss that you want to take. But is it the end of everything? No, the Browns are 4-2, and they lost to an incredible team with an incredible defense that outplayed them and was outcoached by them. And rightfully so. It would have been more concerning for the Steelers had they lost that game. Like, we got to get this together. We should not have lost that game. So I think that I think that it was a normal loss. It was a loss that was to be expected. If you went back and you thought at the beginning of the season, before anything had started, before anything happened, you thought that game was going to be a surefire win, no doubt in your mind, you're lying to yourself. You are lying to yourself. You knew it was going to be tough. You wanted them to win. If you picked with your heart, you picked the Browns to win. If you picked with your head, you would have taken the Steelers because, I mean, that's how it goes. That's how it's been going for years and years and years, that they win there. That's the game they win. So,
right. Yep.
I'm not. And
there's so many. Camryn, let me say this too. There's only so many times you can say next man up, right? Like, oh, safety, next man up. We're in the Sheldrick Redwine, who hadn't played a single snap in a defensive game until the end of the Colts game. I mean, just Ronnie Harrison had looked great. Carl Joseph had looked good. Today, who'd been a disaster. I mean, and you're playing against a team that likes to press the ball vertically, right? So how do you expect to be really, really excellent on defense with no one that can play safety against a really good team? I mean, I think that you just made a great point. The Steelers be in a lot worse place than us if they had lost that game at home to a beaten up Browns team, right? So right now we're 4-2. We're getting a little more healthy as the injury report shows in the back end. Hopefully this week the defense looks better and we move forward from here with this favorable schedule and see what we can build going forward. So Camryn, I think that was an absolutely great point, that it would have been a way worse loss for Pittsburgh than it was for us.
We talked about that last week with Damashek, that the Steelers had more to lose this game than we did. If they lost, okay, what's going on? Jeremy, I've been a Baker apologist since before we drafted him. I predicted that we would draft him one. Ken Camryn laughed on our show right at my face.
True.
And we talked, I've always been a Baker fan. I love Baker. I still love Baker. I'm going to plead the fifth on the things I've said about Baker the last 4 days and his ability to quarterback an NFL team. It was a dark place. Things I never thought I'd say about Baker. I'll say that. I hope he gets healthy and that he, if that means sit out a game, then I don't know. I think he needs to look at that.
And Chase, the one thing the one thing that always sticks out that he said when he makes a throw like that throw to Minka Fitzpatrick. Okay, do you remember what he said before he got drafted?
No.
He said, "Yeah, I can't see. Newsflash, no quarterback can see over their line." Remember that whole thing?
No.
It's like maybe some of them can. When he was at Oklahoma, they had asked him about seeing because he's short, and he said, "Newsflash, none of these guys can see that. A lot of it's anticipation." Well, maybe you do have to see a little bit when you got guys like Minka Fitzpatrick floating around there, right? So just an interesting thought, something to think about.
So let's go to Browns silver linings. Browns 7, Steelers 38. Browns absolutely rocked 4 quarters, deflating. Team got beat up. Camryn, what's a silver lining we can take away from this game? Help me out.
Browns are 4-2. They are over 500. What do you want? It's just one loss. We're on to the next one. The silver lining is we lost to a good team and we're on to the next team. That should be a much easier matchup. Not that it's not going to be difficult, but we're on to the next one.
I think my problem was we didn't do this game earlier in the week. And so I didn't have these silver linings to course correct. Usually I'm very optimistic and that's what's weird. Usually I'm super optimistic and this is great. But yeah, that is true. 4-2, 500. It's not like we are 0-6, even though it kind of felt like it a little bit this week. Jeremy, silver linings, man.
I think the silver lining is this upcoming schedule and the fact that we can get back on track and it's a favorable schedule. Look, there was nothing good about that game. We got dominated in all facets of the game, every area of the game, special teams, offense, defense, up front, in the backfield, quarterback play. They dominated us from top to bottom. Where we can draw our hope from is, like Camryn said, we're 4-2, and upcoming games against, the Raiders, the Texans at home, the Eagles at home, the Bengals, the Jaguars. Our upcoming schedule is favorable for us. So if we can get back on track this week in Cincinnati, the silver lining will be we were fun going into that game, 4-2 coming out, and we're 2 games above 500.
Silver lining I have is that there's the measuring stick. Right. It's not hard to measure success in Cleveland, win and then beat Pittsburgh and beat Baltimore. And if we want to do anything in the playoffs, at some point we're going to have to go through those 2 teams. Can the team that played the Steelers on Sunday win a playoff game? No, not playing like that, not against any of the top 6, 7 teams in the AFC. And that's the measuring stick. Yeah, let's get there. Great. But that shouldn't just make everyone complacent. I'm not saying Camryn, you are complacent or anyone on the team's complacent. I'm saying that that's the measuring stick, and that's still the gap we have. And so the silver lining is this, it's easily measurable, what success we need to attain. Sometimes it can be really hard. It can be really vague. It can be really open-ended, and it can just feel like it can never be reachable. No, this is attainable. This is something that we can do. We had the people, we had the leadership, we had the drive, the heart in the team to do it. To go out and do it. So that's my silver lining, is that's the measuring stick. And we can beat up on teams on the bottom of the food chain all day, which is great. And I think we need some of that in the Browns culture just to win and turn that around. But I think everyone wants more, and that's the measuring stick. Cameron's trying. Yeah.
Yes, because and it's really easy to do because, like I said, you are 4-2. So it's really easy to get ahead of yourself and think we're back. We need to win. We're going to go Super Bowl, Super Browns. So that can't be the case yet. That's not the case yet. The goal for years has been just to make the playoffs. That should be your measurement. That should be the first measurement. But that's the thing, is like, now it's achievable. You're seeing that. You're seeing that good record. You're seeing this team. They play well. The Browns are doing well. They have the potential and the ability to get to the playoffs. But like you said, can they win a game in the playoffs? Maybe not. But that, just because you're getting there, now you're asking, it's almost greedy. It's almost greedy to want more. It's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone. The playoffs are the stepping stone. Then after they've established that they can make the playoffs, then you want them to win playoff games. Once you can see they win playoff games, then you expect a Super Bowl contender out of the Browns. That's what it's a process. It's not just like a flip the switch, we're going to the Super Bowl. You have to take, and it's really, I know I don't want to like call anyone out here and say like, you shouldn't do that. It's crazy, because it's really easy to get ahead of yourself and to get really excited about this team because they haven't been this good and they haven't looked this good against, even if they're bad teams, they haven't looked this good against teams like that for a very long time.
You're right.
And so now with all this potential and all of, not just potential, you're seeing it in action. It's not just talk anymore. It's the actual Browns playing well. So it's really easy to like let your mind drift to like, I want more, because we haven't had more.
Yeah,
but
you're absolutely correct, Jeremy. I want to get to you in a second. You're absolutely correct, Camryn. It is greedy to be like, why aren't we better? It is greedy to say, hey, let's do more in the playoffs. It is greedy to expect like better excellence and consistent excellence from a team that has been consistently terrible and the worst in the league. Yeah, you're exactly right. But I don't feel like time waits for anyone, especially in NFL. And when you see other teams, because it is you're just comparing yourself to other teams and their success. When you see teams like the Chiefs, who drafted one quarterback and their franchise was changed for the next 2 decades. When you see a team like Baltimore, who didn't have an answer quarterback, and all of a sudden they drafted an MVP who they went 14-2 last year. When you have top caliber talent on a team in the NFL, you shouldn't have to wait. It's not the NBA. You shouldn't have to wait 3 to 4 seasons for them to get it. And it is different in that regard. So it is greedy, but when you look at the impact of high talented blue chip caliber players in the NFL, it usually doesn't take 3-4 seasons to fix that. Now, the Browns are a different story, and we've had decades of incompetence. And so, Camryn, you're right. But I feel like it might be a little different. And I am comparing myself to other teams and their success, which isn't, comparison's a thief of joy. That's a free one, everyone listening. That's a free one. But yeah, Jeremy, thoughts, man.
No doubt. That's true though. No, I agree. I mean, and look at a team like the Titans. You see Toddy get Ryan Tannehill, his career is over. And now I just saw a stat in the last 16 games. He actually has more wins and better numbers than Mahomes. He's been the best quarterback in the AFC for the last 16 games. So you're like, why can't that be us? But I think it can. They run a similar system. We get Chubb back healthy. I think that can be us. I think we can be as good as the Titans. Well, so no, I agree.
It's Titans
frustrating.
Have a top 2 coach in the NFL. That's just me. I think.
We've talked about that before too. I agree. But I just think that I get it. It's sort of the why can't we be the darling of the leagues? You know, like we've waited so long, but we're 4-2, and Camryn has a point, and we should probably pump the brakes a little bit and be happy that we are in a spot where the games still count. How often do we talk about the Browns, the only team in the league, the season's over before November every year? You know, well, this year it's going to be November and the season's not going to be over. So it's, baby steps. So it's one ladder, one step at a time, and let's see where we go. But it's tough to tell fans, short for fanatic. It's tough to tell people like us have been waiting forever to calm down. It's just, it's one of those things. But there's definitely marked progress this year, and let's see where it goes from here.
Camryn, I'll give you the final word before we cut to a break.
Like I said, I just want to move past the Steelers loss.
Yes.
And I think that you might see a totally different team against the Steelers once they come to First Energy Stadium. I just think that playing in Pittsburgh against that team, it's a challenge, and the Steelers, they showed up. And I don't think that the team should get too down on themselves. I don't think fans should get too down on themselves. I think you put it away, you move forward, and you see how they play against them at home. And that's going to be the real test. I think if they can compete against them at home, I think that you're a little bit more hopeful, against these division rivals. I think that if they've got some work to go and work to do when they're playing on the road and facing these highly competitive teams and these really good teams in really adverse situations, but they've got the ability to get your hopes up again once they come to Cleveland, and we'll see it soon. We'll see what they can do against them very soon.
That's week 17, January 3rd, 2021. What better way to put 2020 behind us by beating the Steelers in the very part of 2021? All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with our Bengals game preview.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
And I'm Dennis Maniloff, co-host along with the roadman Kenny Rhoda of the Next Man Up podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Roadman and I do a deep dive into Browns, Indians, Cavs, Ohio State, and anything else that's on the sports fan's mind.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Using a narrative storytelling approach, the Hyman Podcast was created to start conversations that need to be human. Week by week, I'll break down walls and barriers and make people wildly uncomfortable, all the while giving a voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. Consider this your personal invitation to be part of that conversation.
All right, we're back. I don't want to talk about the Steelers anymore. We're on to Cincinnati, as Bill Belichick would say. And here to help us move on to Cincinnati, Camryn, keys to the game. Camryn, if we want to come away with a victory against the Bengals at Paul Brown Stadium this Sunday, what do we need to do? What are the keys to the game?
Keys to the game this week. Number one, the Browns have to force turnovers. They did not do that against the Steelers. I know we weren't going to talk about the Steelers anymore, but we have to go back just a second to realize they didn't force any turnovers. They didn't take the ball away one time. And the Browns have been dominant in that aspect. Before last week, the Browns led the league in turnovers. They're still up there. But a lot of those turnovers that the Browns have been getting this season, they're not just here and there. They're really crucial turnovers. They're really crucial takeaways at times that changes the game, gets the game back in, or, establishes the Browns lead. And so they have to do that again. If the Browns want to win, and they want to win convincingly against the Bengals, they have to get back to what they were doing, taking the ball away, and the defense has to step up in that aspect. I want maybe another pick six. Ronnie Harrison's back. He's healthy. Looks like Carl Joseph should be playing so the safeties can step up. There's no excuse to not force turnovers, and it's got to happen this week. Second key to the game. The Browns have to keep their foot on the gas the entire game. And the Browns took an early lead over the Bengals in week 2. They exploited their defense. It looked really good. They maintained that solid lead for a lot of the game, but the final score was only 5-point difference. It wasn't a big gap. So it didn't look like it was as dominant of a win over the Bengals as it was. And it didn't reflect that Browns dominance. The Browns have done that same thing against the Cowboys. They didn't press the pedal hard enough against Washington. And then, so you see the Browns, they're not putting their foot on the gas the entire game. They let the game get back. They let it get close. Third quarter, fourth quarter, that can't happen. The Browns have to establish that early lead, keep their foot on the gas, keep that lead, win dominantly and convincingly, never let up. And the third key to the game is the key it's every week. But this week is very, very important because, again, we didn't see it last week so much, and that's not to the fault necessarily of the Browns. It's a very good defense. But the Browns have to reestablish the run this week. They have to be dominant in the run. The Bengals have an atrocious rush defense. They've had that since 2017. They're not good. I mean, that is what it is. And they weren't good in week 2. The Bengals allowed the Browns to run for 215 yards. Now, Nick Chubb, he's still out. We know this. But Kareem Hunt is incredible. He can step up. And then behind him, you want to see those big games out of Dearness Johnson and Dontrell Hilliard. You want to see them step up, and maybe you'll see, the other players get cute with it and run the ball like we saw Odell do. But this is the time to do it. This is the time to run the ball because the Bengals are not good against the rush. So Kareem's going to have to step up. He said that he wanted to have a breakout game. He said winning was more important, but he said he would love to have a breakout game. This is the time to do it. This is the time to put up those Nick Chubb numbers from week 2 against the Bengals. Show us why you are the best number 2 behind Nick Chubb, and arguably could be one of the best number 1s if you were on the team, not behind Nick Chubb. So this is the time for him to really make that name for himself, to show that he is also elite, to show how much of a dominant running force that he is. And I think they have the potential to do it against the Bengals. There's no reason not to. The O-line, I know they struggled, protecting Baker, but they have to step up. They also have to step up and help guide the rush. So they have to be great at the run block. They've been doing that all season. And it's just going to come down to everybody stepping up, no missed assignments, no missed blocks, doing their thing, getting back to the way that we know the Browns can do it.
Hard to disagree with that, Camryn. Forcing turnovers. You have a rookie quarterback who feels like he's carrying the team on his shoulders. And whether he can play or not, he's going to look to try to win them a game in Cincinnati. Keeping the foot on the gas. You would love to see the Browns keep putting points on the board, no matter what the lead is. Although I don't know if we're going to jump out to a lead quite like we did week 2. And then to establish the run of the O-line, of course, like those are all, definitely if the Browns can do that, we're going to come away with the win, Jeremy. Camryn, good work on that. Jeremy, what do you think about the keys of the game? Would you agree with kind of what Camryn presented here?
Yeah, I do. And I think the Browns do need to jump on them early. Look, they are coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Colts where they had a 21-0 lead. That's one of those things that kind of swings the season. That could be a demoralizing thing. You got AJ Green asking for a trade. You've got Joe Mixon hurt. I think if the Browns can come out and put up some scores early and you get the Cincinnati back to fighting within themselves, here we go again. I think that's big, getting off to a hot start this week. I think she's absolutely right. Establishing the ground game against a team that is absolutely pathetic against the run, get out, run it down their throats, just like we did at home, but make a big play early, whether it's a trick play with Odell, get Odell involved early, get his attitude back to where it was a couple weeks ago, where he's, dancing and putting the 4-and-1 signs up on his hand to the fans, get him going early. But I agree with all our keys, but I think the biggest thing is get out early, make some big plays, and get Cincinnati doubting themselves again.
Look, I have a thought. All right. And it might not be a popular thought. I don't think the Bengals are bad.
No, they're not.
I don't think they're as bad as everyone says. They almost beat a good Chargers team at home. They were frisky against us week 2. I'm looking at their schedule. They tied the Eagles, which the Eagles are suspect. They beat a Jags team that was maybe trying to win. They got crushed by the Ravens, but they were just a young team against the Colts. I mean, the Colts are old, veteran leadership. Somehow Phillip Rivers won that game. I think they're going to be hard to beat at home. I think it's going to be a really, really hard game. And I do think, Camryn, we are going to force turnovers. I do think we're going to be able to establish the run, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to say their offense is more explosive than ours, but I feel like they might be able to move the ball a little easier in chunks than we might be able to on Sunday. Maybe I'm just overvaluing Burrow and his ability to pass the ball, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think. Camryn, am I way off base there?
I hope I didn't make it come off like this is a cakewalk and it's going to be a blowout and the Bengals aren't going to put up a fight at all. But I just think that compared to on the schedule of games that we've had and the 2 losses that we've had, the Bengals do not compare to the Ravens or the Steelers. And so those are the games that the Browns look bad in. They haven't looked bad in any other games. They looked, maybe a little rusty against Washington. It wasn't their strongest game, but they haven't looked bad in, and they've looked good in a couple of these games too. So it's the same thing. I think that I don't want to underestimate the Bengals, but I also know that the Browns are more than capable of not just competing with them, but exploiting their weaknesses. And the rush defense is a huge weakness for them. And yes, like you said, Joe Burrow, he's going to be a threat when it comes to passing. He's a much more efficient passer already than Baker Mayfield is right now, because Baker Mayfield has been struggling. But I think that Baker's issues are obviously fixable, and when it comes to Joe Burrow, I think that he's still, no matter how much talent he has, he's young. So he's definitely exploitable in that sense. And, you know, our rushers should get in there. They should make him feel young, and they should make him feel like a rookie, especially coming off that heartbreaking loss, you know, just like show him who he is. And yeah, he's good, but he's not anyone yet. He hasn't established himself yet. And you gotta make him really feel that.
Oh, sorry, Jay. I thought I heard you trying to jump in there. So no, Camryn, you're right. You're right. We have a better coach than the Bengals, which I think matters in the NFL, just like it does in basketball. So I do have faith in our coaching staff to exploit our strengths and their weaknesses. I do think we have better skill players than the Bengals. And I think our O-line is better than the Bengals. And so, yes, I do think we should win this game. I'm not sure, Jeremy, you mentioned it a little bit in your in the first half of the episode, just kind of penciling this in as a W. I don't know if I don't know if I would, make that as lightly pressed down W as possible. Jay, do you feel like you want to put that in ink, or how do you feel about this game?
I'm putting it in ink, and I'm signing it. We're winning this game. Book it, mark it, whatever you want to say. We are winning this game. The Browns are going to win this game. Look, they know they can exploit this Bengals bad offensive line. Myles Garrett has had some incredible games against the Bengals in the past. They're going to get to Burrow. They're going to be able to run the ball. The Bengals are going to be most likely be without Joe Mixon. AJ Green wants out. I don't see them. They will put up some points because our defense is still, somewhat suspect. But I think we're going to be able to run the ball. I think Baker Mayfield has had some of his best games against the Bengals in the past. Like Camryn said, their run defense is awful, which plays right into what we want to do, which is run the ball to set up the pass. I really honestly believe the Browns are going to win this game. I think it'll be a 10-point game, probably similar to games where we've been up and they've made a run and we put a touchdown up at the end, something like that. But I think the Browns are going to win. I think they're going to win by double digits. And so there's my bold prediction and my rebuttal to you all in one.
Jeremy's sick of it. He's done wasting time on the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This game worries me. I think this game is going to tell us a lot about the team. I know we bounced back against the Ravens and beat them week 2, but that was the first game we were getting our footing and understanding how this COVID season is going to work. I think now that this league's established, the rhythms are established, to get smacked around like that against the team we don't want to get smacked around on, like, I don't know. I know we're hurt. I know Baker I don't know how Baker feels better after the Steelers game than he did against the Colts. Jarvis admitted he has a broken rib. And so I think, I don't know. I'm really, really concerned. Camryn, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I just a little bit, not too much. I mean, that is worrisome, but I think that this team has a ton of heart, and no matter how bad that loss was and how bad the narratives turn against them, and the fan base goes up in arms and freaks out a little bit, and there's not that same kind of rah-rah. I think that they have enough heart and they have enough belief in themselves and their coaching that I'm not too worried about it. I think that they just need a game like this week to bounce back. And that's what they did against the Ravens in week 1. Had a really heartbreaking loss, bounced back, went 4 straight wins. You do it again. That's what it is. So I'm not worried. I think that they have the heart, they have the mentality, they have the drive and the dedication, and they actually have a belief in their coach that they haven't had in years. So I think that that's the key factor here, is they really believe in Stefanski, and they really believe that this is the way to do it. And that's what counts here.
But listen, they're going against a Bengals team who that's all they've heard this week. Oh, the Browns will bounce back this week. Oh, the Browns have an easy game. They know they can beat us. They beat us last year at Paul Brown Stadium. It's not like these guys aren't like, oh, we can't beat these guys. They beat us last year with the same team.
No, but the Browns have also been here. You have to understand what the Browns are hearing too. That's it.
Same old
the Browns
Browns
aren't going to be anything. Same old Browns. So while, the Bengals have, bulletin board material in the sense of the fan base and people trying to, motivate people again. Like, this isn't it. This isn't over. The Browns they're good. They're a good team. They just lost to bad teams. That's bulletin board material for the Bengals, but the Browns have their own stuff too, and their own fan base. They have the doubt from people in the fan base who don't think they can do it. Plus, add on top of that, national media who wants to rip the team apart and wants them to get traded, just tear the whole thing down after 2 losses to great teams. So they got bulletin board material too. I'm not worried about that sense of it. I think that they're both right now hearing the adversity against them.
And I think the Bengals, more than listening to what people are saying about them, are thinking about the fact that they just blew a 21-0 lead and their star tailback is hurt. I think they're probably worried a little more about that than, people thinking the Browns are going to bounce back and beat them. I think they have their own issues.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm worried about the game. I'll say it. I'm concerned. I don't think this is going to be an easy game. I think if we do win, it'll be because of a last-second failed drive by Burrow. But I'm not going to be surprised if there's a minute left and the Bengals are driving and we got this terrible feeling in our stomach. Jeremy, I need a specific bolder prediction. I already put down win by double digits. I think that's really bold. I don't think we've won by double digits this year, have we? Did we beat the Washington team by double digits?
Wasn't it 37-27 or 20? Yeah, I think we won by double digits. But here's my bold prediction. My bold prediction is that the Browns
beat the Cowboys by 11. Sorry.
The Browns are going to get Odell involved early. Odell Beckham is going to have his best game as a Brown. He's going to have a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown in the air, and he's going to have 175 total yards.
Dude, that's what I
really believe it.
Oh, that means passing.
No, well, total yards. So we'll say either receiving, rushing. Maybe they'll hit him on a couple of those quick end rounds, but 175 total yards and 2 touchdowns for Odell Beckham Jr.
Ooh, that's spicy. I love it, Jay. That is bold. My man took a week out and came back strong with the boldness. Camryn, can you match that? I'm excited now. Let's go.
I can never match the bold predictions because I'm not that bold. I don't want to trick anyone. I am not that bold. But my bold prediction, you're not going to think it's that bold, but I'm going to add some stuff to it.
Add some spice. All right.
Okay, so Rashard Higgins gets another touchdown because he's a magnet for the end zone.
Okay.
But
third in 3 weeks. That's pretty bold.
He doesn't just get the touchdown. He also provides a very, very crucial first down for maybe some big yards. Big yard play from Rashard Higgins for a crucial first down. That's not in the red zone, not in the end zone, just a regular wide receiver 3 out there doing his thing for a crucial play. That I feel like it's bold enough when you mix the two together.
It is. We'll say Higgins a big day for you. We'll knock it down to big day Higgins. I think my bold predictions. I'm going to stay away from the offense. I can't deal with that right now. I gotta take a week for the offense. I think our defense is going to force Joey Burrows to 4 turnovers in some capacity, whether it's fumbles or interceptions. I think they're going to have themselves a day, and I think they're going to keep us in this game. So my bold, is that bold enough, guys, for turnovers for Joey Burrows?
That's very bold.
That's good. Yeah,
that's good.
Like
that's very bold. Okay. So there you have it. The bold predictions for our game in Cincinnati Sunday, 1:00 at Paul Brown Stadium. Well, thank you guys so much for downloading and listening. Sorry we didn't get you 2 episodes this week. We'll get back to our schedule next week. I really appreciate your support in all this. Camryn, you have any final thoughts?
I just want everyone to just stay positive, guys. It's a different team. It's a different season. We're going to have the bad ones. We're going to have the bad games, but don't throw it all away and be miserable for your whole week. Stay positive. It's going to be fine. And the Browns are going to look good again real soon.
I feel like that was just for me. Thank you, Camryn. Jeremy, what do you got, man? Final thoughts?
Like I said, we're going to win this game, and it's so funny. Has anything ever been more true when Kevin Stefanski said it's not a marathon, it's a 16 sprints, and how much things change from week to week? We go from being on top of the world to being down in the dumps, but guess what? We are going to go back to being on top of the world. We're going to win this game. We're going to come home next week and beat the Raiders, and all will be well in Cleveland.
I love it, man. Again, thank you guys so much. We'll check in next week for hopefully a victory recap. You guys have a great weekend. See ya.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Hoo.
Let's get it.
USA.